Before photography emerged and turned its lens on war, art was the only means of illustrating war for the masses. Since the invention of photography, its use on the front line has become more and more prolific. Today, anyone caught up in conflict with a smartphone can capture the gritty reality of war in high definition in both photos and video. So do we still need war artists? What can sketches and paintings tell us that photography can't? And which mediums tell a better story? In 1982, Linda Kitson became the first British female official war artist to be sent into battle when she accompanied the second wave of a task force down to the South Atlantic for the Falklands campaign. She would eventually produce more than 400 drawings, all created in the field during the Falklands conflict.
I was given £1,500. They did need it to be narrative, figurative, so that people could see what it was. They couldn't really risk somebody coming back with something that would be unintelligible to all but a very few in the art world.
I was quite a big fan of Linda Kitson, just done in a really lovely, very concise, loose, expressive way with some kind of explosion of a helicopter in the background and just full of life and beautifully composed. This is the kind of one I really wanted to see because it's just a group of soldiers standing, camouflage, obviously waiting to go somewhere with all their kit on the ground. This wouldn't be a million miles away from the way that I would kind of draw quickly in a more linear way, moving away from tone, but it's essentially one of those continuous line drawings. You don't lift your pencil off the paper. It's a fairly decent strategy for drawing something quick.
Doing drawings on paper, it is the fastest, most flexible means of doing a picture, but it's also the most fragile.
Linda was given a Lindum container to store and transport her completed drawings.
It's an extraordinary piece of equipment, bright yellow thing. It's got built in a parachute so that it can be dropped, and it's impregnable.
Women were not permitted to stay overnight on naval vessels, so in May 1982, Linda boarded the QE2, a former transatlantic liner and cruise ship that had been requisitioned by the British government to carry troops to the Falklands.
It was so extraordinary, as was the Royal Artillery, going through their various manoeuvres. In the cosmetics and perfume shop and in the hairdressers, these men were earnestly listening to communications under pink hairdryers.
Also boarding the QE2 at the same time as Linda was Paul Haley, a civilian photographer tasked with covering the Falklands conflict for a Ministry of Defence magazine called Soldier.
As we sailed away, people all down the coast waving and things, it was an incredible sight. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I wasn't sure of my role, so I just went round documenting everything I could.
Several official war photographers had also been commissioned to cover the conflict. Ronald Hudson, official photographer for the British Army, had already arrived in the Falklands and captured this photograph of a heavily laden paratrooper as they headed south for Sussex Mountain. Imperial War Museum photographer Sergeant Graham Colbeck captured the landings at San Carlos, and official Royal Navy photographer Rick Toyer captured plenty of drama at sea. The QE2 arrived at South Georgia, where passengers, including Linda Kitson, were transferred to the SS Canberra for the last leg of the journey. Kitson was asked to stay on board for one more night, to record a group of young Argentine prisoners being transferred to the ship.
It was good to draw that. These are boys, aged 17. They wouldn't be allowed to fight. 16. They got their father's call-up cards. Pa has stayed on the farm and sent the son instead. And they are at present thinking that we are going to eat them. And they were accordingly shaking.
Going on land, the task ahead for both artists and photographers was to capture images that told the story. But which medium would best accomplish this task? During a particular air raid, Linda recalls two Gurkha soldiers who were extraordinarily polite.
It had come over the net that we were to be a direct target, and these two little faces peered in. They requested permission to get into their own trench if it wouldn't be an imposition on Ma'am. And I said, for heaven's sake, get in and quick. We really did think our names were on those bombs that day. I was never more happy that I was drawing because it raises the morale if they know that they might possibly be going to die, but they are not forgotten.
For Linda, the medium of drawing had many advantages, particularly in more sensitive situations.
You can vanquish any suspicion or reservations by the fact that your subjects can wander over and see exactly what you're doing. The open book or page makes it entirely acceptable.
Art is highly subjective and personal. Artists draw on their imagination, personal views, life experience, and emotions, leading to varied interpretations of the subject in front of them.
As an artist, do you think a pencil sketch in documentary form in this way is of equal value as the work you were doing?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think they can stand side by side. One of the things that my photographs don't show is the cold and the wind. They really just don't capture how blooming awful it was. But I think Linda's do sometimes. The exaggerated leans that people have got somehow comes over more in her paintings. I really like it. I think it's just full of movement and the immediacy of things. I could recognise the feeling that they gave.
Some events in the Falklands were captured in both art and photography. On the 8th of June, a round-table class landing ship logistics vessel, known as Sir Galahad, was preparing to unload soldiers from the Welsh Guards. At approximately 2 p.m. local time, the vessel was attacked by Argentine Skyhawks. Sir Tristram was also hit.
I could see from the top of the hill there was thick black smoke coming up, so there was obviously casualties.
The fire quickly began to burn out of control, sadly leading to the deaths of 48 of the men on board. The next morning, Paul Haley attempted to get a closer look.
I got another helicopter, landed at Fitzroy, 400 or 500 yards. I could see Galahad still smoking like mad, and took a photograph of it, of exactly what I saw as I got out of the helicopter.
The drawing of mine, in my view, was ridiculous, because that is something, I think, that needed a photograph. It kept turning with the water flow. I could really only get the broad effect of her, sitting, I have to say, in the luxury of an abandoned car, because really it was just impossible to function on the shoreline where the wind is hitting you straight in the face.
More than a week later, Sir Galahad was still ablaze. The fire continued even as she was taken out to sea and sunk, commemorated as a war grave with the bodies of her dead still on board. They say a picture paints 1,000 words, but which medium comes closer to the truth? Although both art and photography have been utilised in the trials of war criminals, photography often carries more weight. Sometimes art succeeds where photography can't. A photograph of a gruesome scene may be too graphic for viewers, but art has the ability to transform violence and bloodshed into artistic and more palatable images for audiences. At Goose Green, Linda Kitson was confronted with the gruesome reality of the war. She chose at that time not to focus on those things.
I knew that the actual battle areas was being covered by journalists. No point in me doubling up on the job. There's only one of me in 38 Press Corps. My idea to keep it domestic, by which I mean the life every day as lived amongst those doing the work, the fighting.
Some of the most famous Falklands images are these images of Argentine prisoners of war surrendering to British forces. Paul Haley recalls one particular photo of his that proved to be especially controversial.
There was an ever-growing pile of rifles being taken off prisoners and slung in a big pile, and I noticed on one of them there was a picture of a Madonna and Child, and it was at the bottom, so I dragged it out and put it almost on the top, and then took that photograph. It made it clearer. It sort of summed up what was happening that day and summed up what the soldiers were clinging to. Some people think that press photographers shouldn't alter things. I'd argue that I did right, because I slightly improved a photograph, but I didn't change any meaning.
After the fall of Stanley, a ceasefire was declared on the 14th of June and surrender negotiations began. Linda Kitson stayed on to record the aftermath, finally setting sail for home on the 17th of July.
Yes, so it says, if anything should happen to me, the only important thing to save is the portfolio of drawings, please. I've never been in that situation where I've thought about me or the drawings, but yeah, it would make it completely meaningless if the drawings were lost.
It was a nightmare conserving the stuff in the field, never mind the considerations that you could get hurt. People were offering to carry everything, as they always do, and I wasn't going to let anyone touch my babies. That is what they are. I mean, I don't have family. My life is the work, you see, and any artist will tell you the same.
The combination of both photography and art can provide a comprehensive and multifaceted portrayal of war. Side by side, they form an historical continuity linking contemporary conflicts with past wars. Both mediums have strengths and weaknesses, which together provide a deeper understanding. Throughout history, war art and photography have given the world enduring representations that influence public perception and memory, even to this day.